David Faber's got some thoughts on the banks back at HQ. David, what's on your mind?
Yeah, wanted to bring people up to date because really a mixed bag this morning. In fact, shares of Morgan Stanley, one of the bright spots in the financial sector, with most of the other big names trading modestly lower at this point. Shares of Morgan Stanley, though, up about 1.5%. A lot of talk, though, out there today about Dexia, the Franco-Belgian bank that Moody's warned today about its exposure to Greece, downgraded it, or reviewed it, I should say, for a possible downgrade, excuse me. But there's a look at Morgan. And I did want to come back to Jim because, Jim, you and I can have a conversation. These can be very weighty issues in some ways. And I want to make it clear, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know others might want to do that. So you in no way said that anybody should pull their money or anything like that from Morgan Stanley.
I'm saying
because you know as well as I do, that stuff gets out there immediately. People mishear, and I want to make it very clear.
I want to make it very, very clear. If I were a hedge fund, if I had my prime brokerage at Morgan Stanley, I would not move it. And I'll tell you why. Because they're just going to move to another institution and rate that down. Morgan Stanley is much stronger than it's ever been. I want to make this point right now. I would think that Morgan Stanley is one of the great long-term buys right here. I'm willing to stick my neck out because that's how well capitalized they are, and anybody who is trying to get that thing down is short the stock, I think, and trying to spread it. Morgan Stanley is here to stay. It has never been this strong.
Let's be clear, though. Short term, it, along with banks, are short.
I don't like any...
Long term, it's a buy. What is long term in your view?
Of the banks, Morgan Stanley is one of the strongest that I see out there. Strong. And I got to tell you, I would pull my... I don't want to tell anyone to pull anything, but to pull your money out of Morgan Stanley, to pull your trade, that is just stupid. This is not 2008. I'm willing to stick my neck out. I know it was chopped off because I said some things about where your money was safe, in 2008, and I had to live to regret it because the world came down on me. I am telling you, Morgan Stanley is fine.
All right. Well, there you see. I think that was very clear. I certainly understood that.
Thank you.
Completely and fully. But to the overall picture, of course, you guys have talked about it so often. I mean, there are so many other stories out there, but all of it getting really ignored in many ways because Europe. I hate to say it over and over again. We do every day here, but that is really the main story. Again, I bring up Dexia, right? A banking company few have ever heard of. Nonetheless, liquidity fears in Europe, not here. Banks and their ability to fund themselves in Europe, not here.
Right.
Still certainly a key factor here for our market as you take a look at shares of Dexia.
Thank you, David, because that's the issue. Our banks would probably be, a lot of our banks, I believe, would be rallying, and book value would start meaning something if the European banks got their act together or the governments got their act together. Because when I look at the balance sheets of a Goldman and a Morgan Stanley, these are, and I look at how much the book has shrunk, these are just rock-solid buys if you stopped having the pressure in Europe.
Right.
All of them.
Of course, very hard to reassure people given that they lived through 2008 and that we learned about things that we never knew about and connections that we were vaguely aware of, and that's, that
but
echoes.
aren't they much more open now, David?
Yes,
they're totally open. They're returning your calls. They're opening their book.
Yeah.
What more can you ask?
Well, good point.
It's here, Street Smart Edge, the advanced intuitive trading platform from Charles Schwab. Fine-tuned technical analysis with the integrated chart tool sidebar. Pinpoint your target more efficiently with clearly categorized, highly customizable technical studies. Plus, scan any stock or ETF against time-tested indicators with built-in chart pattern recognition. Call 1-888-4-SCHWAB and open an account and trade up to 6 months commission-free. Talk to Chuck and get started with Street Smart Edge today.
The banking industry could be hit with another wave of losses due to the FHA claim denials that one analyst says could reach more than $11 billion. Joining us now to talk about this is Paul Miller. He is Managing Director at FBR Capital Markets, and he was out with a very interesting note today that suggested that the Federal Housing Administration, which basically has sort of just given banks I guess, Paul, is it fair to say, just sort of a clean slate or anything else that they want to put back on them, they'll just kick on the money, may start to get tight with the banks to the detriment of JPM, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, well, we're really concerned about all the government policies pushing these loans back, but the Federal Housing Authority, which has been one of those little small organizations that have never really rejected claims before, is starting to get very tough with the servicers and the originators out there with pushing back more of these claims. And